Welcome back to the Raising Our Vibration podcast, where we explore higher consciousness through spiritual practice. And today, Stephen and I are going to discuss the possibility of enlightenment through exercise. So, yes, we mean exercise like weight training, stretching, cardio, all that good stuff. And so how does that work? How could that work? So let's begin by talking about what do we mean by enlightenment, because you could have all different kinds of conceptions about that. And so I'll propose an idea about it, and Stephen might amend this or add to this. But I'm going to start with saying enlightenment is a permanent realization of being infinite consciousness, having localized experiences. So a permanent realization of being infinite consciousness. So a felt sense of being that along while having localized experiences and along with the effects of that. So peace, compassion, wisdom, and so on. So for most of us, that's a work in progress, right? So that's something that our spiritual practice is directed toward that, or embodying that. And so how might this enlightenment arise? So Stephen and I see this in a simplified sense in terms of three dimensions of practice. First, a foundation of somatic awareness. And so present, felt, sensory, embodied experience. And then that is a foundation for more subtle energy awareness, which gives us a sense of ourselves as more fluid, aliveness, presence, and part of a universal field of energy. So we're moving kind of from the more gross, so to speak, to the more subtle in this process. And then finally, awareness itself. So as we experience ourselves as this universal field, then there's a further shift where we recognize ourselves as awareness itself, as that within which this field arises, that which is prior to space and time and energy and so on. So these three related dimensions. So somatic awareness, subtle energy awareness, and awareness itself. So today we're going to talk about how exercise can play a role in that. And I thought I'd begin with a personal story from my childhood. So let's see, childhood, I'm going to say about 11 to 12-ish years old. I can remember I was standing in the hallway with some friends outside class. We were waiting to go into our homeroom in the morning. And the guys were trading bicep flexes. So they're going, flexing the arms and so on. I looked, and, my friend Robert, he had this nice round ball there. And then Clayton, he had kind of almost a little peak there. And I did it, and nothing happened. It was just squishy. There was nothing contracted at all. And fortunately, they didn't make fun of me. It wasn't one of those humiliating experiences of childhood, but it was kind of a light bulb going on experience. Like I was like, there's something there I need to attend to. So I went home, and I started investigating how to get stronger. And interestingly, that week, a friend of my dad was moving and getting rid of a set of weights. And I said, I'll take those. And so I set them up in my basement, and I got a little pamphlet that came with it. I think it was a set from Sears, and it was these like sand weights in a bar and so on. And began weight training, began strength training. And that was really my first exploration of what it means to have a practice of something, to say, okay, here's something that I want to achieve, and I'm going to go about it. I learned that, well, if you work out 3 times a week and give yourself rest days, I started to learn about practice. How is it that you get stronger? And what are the exercises that you do? And first 2 things that I started to learn was, one, I started to feel inside my body. So I started to feel this sense of interoception, feeling the muscles contract. So I started to have this inner sense of the body, the muscles inside the body. And secondly, quickly learned that weight training is painful. There's lactic acid that builds up. And if you want to get stronger, you kind of work through that. So in a very rudimentary sense, I started to learn about mindfulness, just about being the observer of that and be like, oh, well, I have this goal in mind, and okay, I feel that pain, but I'm just going to let that be okay. That's just part of the process. I'm just going to observe that and work through it. And because I have this goal, I want to get stronger. So I started to kind of learn how to be an observer as well as how to feel inside my body. So those 2 primary skills that we talk about in subtle energy meditation. Another thing I learned was that there's different types of exercise. So I was doing strength training, but I quickly learned that it's good to do some cardio training too, to get your cardiovascular system, your heart and lungs working, and also as a warm-up for strength training. Your strength training is actually much better if you do some cardio before and you get your body kind of in that zone, and the blood pumping and muscles warm and so on. And then I learned that it's really good to do stretching afterwards, that actually helps to expand your range of motion and release any tightness from doing the strength training. And so I started to incorporate all 3 of those, which also started to teach me about sequence. So I learned that if I do cardio and then strength training and then stretching, that's a really effective sequence for what my goal is. So I learned about interoception, mindfulness, different types of exercise, how to sequence them in a progression. I also learned that it's important to prepare for my exercise. So I needed to be rested. I needed to be eating well. I needed to have an environment and the right clothes that facilitated exercise. I even started to learn about posture, because when you're lifting, your posture is very important, because you're going to hurt yourself if you don't. So I started to tune in to having my feet really planted firmly and my core aligned, and not be like leaning back and straining my back. And so I learned about posture. And so all these things, and later on, I learned that I was doing it too intensely. That, I mean, I gained a lot of muscle. I put on like 50 pounds more. I put on, over a course of years from 12 to 20, I put on 80 pounds of muscle. And I was kind of obsessive about it. So I learned about that too. And I learned that in my early 20s, I'm like, I need a complementary style of training. I need to learn. And I started to see, because I was tight, I was really, really muscular, 50 more pounds of muscle than I have now. But I was tight. And so I was like, oh, I need to do more stretching. And also I see this, I was also getting kind of rigid in my movement. So as I saw Tai Chi, and I'm like, that's something completely different. I don't know anything about that, but that right there, I need that. It was kind of like the light bulb moment with getting stronger. I had the same light bulb moment with Tai Chi. Is like, next phase of practice. So in Tai Chi, I learned how to consciously relax my body, how to really tune in more subtly to interoception. And I started to develop a sense of awareness beyond my body. So this kind of progression of exercise taught me all these foundations for my meditation practice, because all of those things I just described are essential in our meditation practice. The interoception and mindfulness, having different types of meditative training. So there's like focused attention, there's highly energized attention, there's spacious awareness, and that awareness itself, which is kind of like stretching the boundaries and then resting. And so I learned all these things through my exercise about spiritual practice, about meditation. And then when I met up with Stephen, I found that he had learned all kinds of similar things and more. And we kind of put it together and developed these programs that we teach. So anyway, that's kind of my story of how I got into exercise and how it led me into meditation practice through Tai Chi and Qigong and then meditation. It was a natural progression, but all the things I learned from the very beginning of my strength training became a part of my meditation experience, beginning with that deep somatic sensory awareness. So Stephen, that was a lot from me. I invite you in here to comment on any of that, and also to share your story of how you got involved in, I know you did martial arts very young, and then yoga also pretty young.
Kevin, thank you, and I do think in some ways you've summed up my path for me. So yeah, you're right. I must say the whole possibility and potential of enlightenment through exercise sits straight at the heart of making exercise your sadhana and bringing sadhana into exercise. In other words, that you can make exercise itself a spiritual practice. So I do think that's what you did and what you came to, and what I did and came to as a young man, and certainly from a child as well. So yeah, you're right. My beginnings started very young, because when as some of you will know who are listening, and I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you're listening to this, that as we grow, we often get influenced by very significant moments, just as Kevin did. And they speak to ways that we form this physical body, and then ways that we form the subtle energy body, and then ways that we form the wisdom body. So the very early dream I had of being that Tibetan monk along with Kevin at the age of 2 and 3 meant that I got very curious about other cultures very, very early on. So I still remember asking Mum, and I didn't know why, I asked her to learn Japanese and tea ceremony and all that sort of thing at the age of 4. And because of that particular teacher, whose name was Keiko, that strongly influenced my feeling about Japanese culture, I just then said to Mum, I want to learn judo. Judo was about the only thing I'd really sort of cottoned onto it at such a young age. So at age 5, she said, there's a place near us called Boys Town. It was aptly named because there were mostly boys. It was a place where boys of all kind of you could say all kinds of backgrounds could come. So had some fairly rough elements and had some really refined elements, but the one thing you could do there was judo and martial arts. So I went to that particular, I guess you call it a sports college, because my whole family was very sporty. So I was into rugby and soccer and anything that moved, tennis. I played them all from as soon as I could hit a ball or catch a ball or play with the ball. I was into and we lived by the ocean, so I'd swim and all that kind of thing, paddle, do anything that I could from when I was very small. So that meant I was naturally strong. I certainly didn't have Kevin's muscle, but was naturally, strong and lithe and quick. And that worked very well in the martial arts tournament. So my first teacher was a Scottish teacher, and I still remember he was very gruff, and he taught me about the roughness in martial arts. And then my next teacher was this completely the opposite. The Scottish bloke was very large, and my next teacher was a Japanese teacher who was very small. And the Scottish, as much as the Scottish teacher was rough, the Japanese teacher was extremely refined and was very reverent, and and incorporated meditation or zazen practice, or meso. Meso is the word for meditation in Japanese, and zazen is the style that is often used by Zen masters. So he was a zazen teacher, and so he'd always sit with us, and we'd just sit. He'd just say, just sit, let your mind relax, be open. It was just, I still remember, it was very simple instructions. So I actually learned a little meditation at that point, even though I didn't necessarily call it that, because he was using mostly Japanese terms, and he didn't speak very much English at all. So the classes were all conducted in Japanese, and in a very refined and reverent way. So I always remember him. I remember watching him simply ward off with comparative ease 5 or 6 very large parents who he gave the open challenge that they could all attack him at one point, and he'd show them how simple it was to defeat. He was very beautiful to watch in action. So I can still remember that. That was sort of a very strong body experience, since we're talking about the physical parts of the way exercise can bring to us to enlightenment. Is it's very important to get the physical energy and feeling in your body first and foremost. So I really remember I did fight in some tournaments all the way from about 7 years old right through till I think I was about mid-20s, because I went through a lot of different martial arts phases, where I went from judo to aikido to karate to then into tai chi and into taekwondo and into kung fu. I did a whole raft of them over about 20 plus years. And so I trained a lot of different disciplines, and that gave me, so Kevin's speaking about cardio, strength and stretching. I found that particular, there's a lot of cardio work in when you're fighting in tournaments. There's also a lot of strength work of a different kind than weights, and you do a lot of preparatory stretching. It's not quite like yoga, but you definitely do a lot of stretching, because your body has to be fairly limber in order to do a lot of, for example, in taekwondo or kung fu, you have to be quite supple. So that was that discipline and that rigor. It was really tough training. I mean, those masters don't hold back. It doesn't matter what age you are or how little or how big you are. They don't care. You get in there, and if you sign up, you do it. So it's so I learned a lot about that resilience. Probably if I learned more than anything else, it was like about resilience. No matter how you feel, if you get struck down, you get up and you just keep going. So that was a very good learning phase for me as a young child. I wasn't that big. I was bullied at school, so I had opportunities to not fight my way out, but run my way out, because I was very quick. And I think the resilience and stamina of those early years of doing all that martial arts training made me very fast over a long distance, and so that helped when it comes to some of those not very nice bullies that you can come across at some schools. So that was the early physical discipline, and then at age 13, just as Kevin was saying, I came to Yogananda's work, and particularly the energization exercises. So they're one of the first things that you learn. I'll show you a couple of them at the end of just this short intro into enlightenment and exercise. Is that the energization exercises were a really great discipline because they added another factor I hadn't considered in martial arts, and that was that you can bring a lot more awareness to the exercise itself in ways that you might not have considered. The martial arts exercise is pretty much all chi centered, right down in the belly. You get down in your power zone and you're simply breaking boards and bricks. I did do all that, did all those martial arts. I'd call them stunts or demonstrations where you jump over 7 people and break boards. I've been able to do all that kind of practical exhibition work, and you have to work with a lot of discipline, a lot of training to do that with comparative ease, and a lot of that energy is very focused. So I learned a lot about focused attention, and also you learn about particular energies of your body where you generate that, just like with Qigong, which I also did do, and Tai Chi, which I did for a number of years as well, that you bring the energy right down into your belly and you learn how to feel that Qi all over your body. So the physical part of it and the training in it and being in your physical body is really, really important. And so with that, for example, if you're doing, if you have an exercise routine, and if you don't, I really encourage you to do that, no matter what age you are, no matter I know here in Japan, I go into lots of the elderly folks' homes because we used to help them, go and help and do exercise routines, my wife and my daughter and I. And I'm always amazed at the number of folk in Japan that are elderly and also have continued this really simple exercise, whether it's usually often because they've done martial arts or they've done some other training earlier on their lives, and they've kept up that kind of regimented behavior, and it's really augured quite well for them. So I encourage you to get an exercise routine. And the second one is, when you do that exercise routine, consider doing it, as Kevin's been pointing out, with an awareness to the physical body, the subtle energy body, and the wisdom body. And as a very simple way of doing this is what I ask you to consider. When you actually start your exercise routine, make some kind of intention. Yogananda was a great fan of making really these powerful intentions, like, recharge my body with cosmic consciousness. Something simple, just recharge my body with health, or my body is healthy, or my body is everybody's body, or I'm breathing and moving for the awakening of all beings. Something very simple. So I always encourage people, make an intention before you begin your routine. And then one thing that yoga taught me, especially, and yoga with Yogananda, but also I trained as a yoga teacher and also did years of yoga classes from about the age of 13 to, I would have been good in my 20s, because I didn't actually start training as a yoga teacher until my 20s, and I went and trained in India and Yogananda's ashrams, and in America at Ananda's ashrams, and I taught in gyms and all sorts of places, in ashrams, in retreat centers, but also in gyms all across Australia, which was a rather interesting experience, because I've discovered that a lot of gyms and a lot of the way yoga is done in certain areas of the world is just very physical. There's not this emphasis on mindfulness or awareness and so on. So if you're doing yoga or any activity, whether it's swimming, cycling, so I'm a great swimmer. I love swimming and I love cycling. I still do a lot of mountain biking, and I swim with my daughter whenever I can get the chance. So whatever activity you're doing, make the intention before you start your routine. And then the very first part of the routine, so if I give the example with yoga, as you do the first part of your routine, just be very mindful of your breathing. So that's the way that I always do the yoga routine. So if I'm doing salute to the sun, I start with an affirmation like that, recharge my body cells with cosmic consciousness. And then I do the routine and I'm just inhaling, being mindful of the inhale, exhaling, being mindful of the exhale. That's simple. Just be really, really simple about your practice. So if you're running, and I do a lot of rebounding and a lot of walking. So if you're walking or running, just simply be mindful of your breathing for part of your routine, because it's so simple to do, and yet we forget because we're often in our bodies, and then suddenly we're ruminating over all the things. If we're used to running, we're going through all the things of our day or whatever else until we get in the zone. So part of it, so let's say you have a 30-minute routine. Let's say you go on a 30-minute run or a 30-minute cycle or swim or whatever it happens to be, or just exercising in your gym at home like Kevin does, or if you're just doing something, a series of stretches on the mat at home. If it's 30 minutes, do about 10 minutes where you're just simply doing the exercise and being mindful of the inhale and the exhale, because that part I find is very simple to do, and it's so helpful. It'll help to calm your mind down, help you to get into your body, help you to start to uncover the pathway of enlightenment through exercise. So one, make an intention before you start. I'm going to recharge my body with cosmic consciousness and health, right? And then second part, first 10 minutes of your 30-minute exercise routine, for example, just be very mindful of your breathing, mindful of energy on the inhale, or energizing yourself on the inhale, and mindful of energization on the exhale. And then for the subtle energy body, for about the next 10 minutes, be really, really aware of the energy and aliveness in your body. Aliveness is probably the easiest way to think about it. I know Eckhart Tolle uses that same word, aliveness. So here, the aliveness is the feeling of the energy in the body. So when your body moves, the energy is usually very vivid. So I know if I move my body, I can feel this sensation, like this tingling all over my body, like the prana starts to move in all the inner channels of your body, and you can feel surges of energy, maybe up the central spine, maybe down your arms, maybe through and into your heart and out. So you just become aware of the aliveness. I'm going to call it, because it's got to be simple. So the first one, the physical, you're aware of your breath and the inhalation, the exhalation. And the second one is your subtle energy body. You're much more aware of the feeling, whether it's tingling or warmth. So go to some easy sensation where it's easy to feel that aliveness in your body. So for me, it's more tingling. I can feel it when I'm running or swimming. I can feel that tingling power or the aliveness of my body, and it feels good. A little bit like there's a power animal in me or in you, and it's that energy. So you become more aware of the energy and the vibration in your body. And as I say, tingling or body sensations like that are very helpful for you to tune into. So first 10 minutes breathing, second 10 minutes you tune into that tingling sensation in the body, feel the aliveness of the body that's connected through exercise on this path to enlightenment. And then the third part, when you're in the last part, say the last 10 minutes, in the last 10 minutes, and Kevin's spoken to this too, is the awareness of the actual exercise itself. Here, I just encourage you to be really open and just release any effort and drop into the zone of what you're doing. So if I give my example, I'm mountain biking through the forest, I'm just simply there with the trees and the beauty of the day, and allowing the biking to bike me, or allowing the swimming to swim me, or allowing my running to run me. So here you just you surrender. to that simple activity or exercise that you're doing. So here you just rest completely in the actual exercise and just allow yourself to be in that flow of whatever you're doing. So if you're still doing your 30-minute yoga routine, let the last part be a sense of openness and joy and gratitude for the yoga exercise itself. So they're really simple pieces of advice of ways you can bring the exercise and enlightenment together. First, working on the physical body, the breath. Second, working on the energy body, the vibrations in your body. And third, the awareness itself, just simply the wisdom of flow, or the wisdom of allowing yourself to surrender completely to the exercise itself, which means you're going to have a routine that you have been doing fairly regularly. And then you'll notice the last 10 minutes, you'll start to really relax into that open awareness, or into the awareness of the practice itself, or into the running you. So just in terms of what Kevin shared, and he mentioned I might do a couple of exercises from Yogananda's energization exercise. So I'll do two of them that are really super simple, and that I've done the energization exercise a long time. So here, if you can do this standing or sitting, and I always begin, I close my eyes. So if you're doing this sitting or standing, bring your hands into prayer posture like this, and just make that intention. So I'll make the one that I always do, that my daughter loves to mimic me. So it says, recharge my body cells with cosmic consciousness, health, and vitality, right? So let's do it 3 times, just so it really anchors. And I like to press, if I've got my hands in prayer posture, I like to press the thumbs against the heart, because then you kind of feel a circuit connection. So it's super simple. Recharge my body cells with cosmic consciousness, health, and vitality. Right, so do it a 3rd time. Recharge my body cells with cosmic consciousness, health, and vitality. Wonderful. Now you extend that prayer posture out in front. So you've got your fingertips together, right, like this, out. And what we're going to do is we're going to stretch out, and you're going to take a double breath in, and I'm going to make fists. As I move out, I'm going to make fists as I'm just, so you can also do it open palm. All right, so fingertips, and so you're going to do it like that, but you're going to take a double breath in. So you're going to really draw the breath into the body as you breathe it. So you're going to go, and then you're going to tense the whole body as you take the double breath in. So you're going to go. So double breath in, and then double breath out as you come back to join the fingertips. So we'll do it again, so you get used to it. Double breath in, stretching right out, feeling the whole body tense. And then as you double breath out, you relax the body again. So you really energize. And they were called energization exercise because the simple feeling is to bring the will and the breath and the energy into alignment. So as you take the double breath in, you're willing your whole body to energize. So, and then, now I'm engaging my whole body. You can't see this, but I'm actually standing up on my tiptoes as I do this, because I love that feel. It's like stretching out your arms to embrace the world as you take the double breath in and tense your body. And as you exhale, bringing the palms back to join the fingertips again. Okay, I think you've got the idea now. So double breath in, tense the entire body, feel prana or energy alive in your body. So you're really focusing on the subtle energy this time, the aliveness in the body. Just keep that one simple feeling. And then double breath out. We'll do it 3 times. Here you go. So fingertips together, double breath in, tense the body, double breath out, double breath in, double breath out, Double breath in. And double breath out. And then just relax. So it's just, and notice how you feel in your body after doing that simple energization exercise where you're bringing energy into the body through the double breath in, and you're breathing out, double breath out. And I always find, no matter where I am in the world, if I'm traveling, for example, and your body feels, you've done a lot of traveling, which I often do, and your body's feeling, oh, I just need a stretch. This double stretch in, double breath in with a stretch, double breath out. I think it's just so good. It feels really good. It feels like your entire body gets a very simple few seconds workout. Okay, so that's one of them that you can do anytime in the morning, anytime at night. Not too late before bed, because if you do this and you do feel really energized, you might not go to sleep. So that's one of them. And the other one that I always love doing is the one that, again, my daughter loves to recite this phrase. And that is what Yogananda used to call the memory exercise. But in fact, I also call it the skull tapping or skull training. And by this, Yogananda used to refer to the brain as your saint. So there's a saint in there that has all your thoughts and memories and past karma, future karma. All of this is wrapped up in that amazing vehicle we call the brain that's in you. So this is a way of waking it up, and it also combines tapping. I mean, I thought it was he always did EFT tapping, but naturally as being a way of waking this up. So what you're going to do, and again, you can do this sitting or standing. So you're going to bring your fingers and you're going to tap your skull like this all over, especially where there's any tension. And you're going to say strongly, awake, O mighty saint, because you're telling the saint within you to wake up. So it's just so simple. You just bring your fingers, tap them like tapping raindrops on your head. And you say out loud, awake, O mighty saint, awake, O mighty saint, awake, O mighty saint. And you notice any areas of tension, both the affirmation and that tapping all over your skull, especially, temples or any areas where there's a little bit of tension behind even down the back, any of this. Awake, you can say it as many times as you like. Awake, O mighty saint. Awake, O mighty saint. Awake, O mighty saint. and now again, just relax for a few moments and just feel what it's like to just rest, feeling that energy coursing through your brain. Obviously activates your fingertips and your arms and your shoulders because of how you're using your body. Just notice as you sit, if you want to close your eyes for a few moments, you could just allow yourself to relax completely, dissolving any separation between body and mind, between prana and mind, between breath and mind. You just dissolve everything. Just rest in an open awareness for a few moments. And with that, I will pass back to Kevin. And Kevin, thank you. It's really amazing. I always think for both you and I, and for many others who are listening, there, exercise is such an incredible way to feel that our connection with the universe. We are movements of the universe. We're the universe in motion. And when we actually feel that and sense that, amazing things happen.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love those practices too. My brain and body are alive and awake and energized. And it really highlights for me the importance of energy for our practice, right? One of the things that, so the importance of the breath, of movement, and of tuning in to the somatic awareness, this energy awareness, as an expression of awareness itself, as dimensions of awareness itself. And so As you incorporate exercise for your health, also consider you're incorporating exercise as part of your spiritual practice, right? Because it does develop embodied awareness. It does create the energy that's essential in your meditation practice. So if your meditation practice is kind of dull or boring or not getting anywhere, or you're kind of stuck or your mind's distracted, doing exercise first really gets you in your body. It builds the energy that you use for concentration, that you use for sustained attention, and that you use to have the felt experience of your practice, right? We're always talking about this, right? Not to have it be a conceptual experience, but to have it be a felt experience so that you are feeling it and then being it. So feeling somatic awareness, feeling subtle energy awareness, and then feeling awareness itself and knowing and feeling that you are that. And exercise is such a powerful foundation for that. So thank you, Stephen, for those wonderful exercises, for this discussion. And so we encourage you to incorporate mindful exercise, exercise as a sadhana, exercise where you are fully present in what you're doing. You're breathing, you're feeling the aliveness, and you're using that as a foundation for your spiritual practice. So thank you all for participating with us. And if you'd like more information on meditation and awareness practices like this, especially subtle energy meditation, you can visit us at raisingourvibration.net. And there you'll learn about the Raising Our Vibration book, our online courses, and our ROV meditation app, which has a wealth of guided meditations, and including mindful cardio that you can just put on. There's a 10-minute, a 20-minute, and a 30-minute version that you can just put on, listen, and it guides you into breath awareness and somatic awareness while you're doing any cardio exercise. All right. So thank you again, Stephen. Thank you all for being here with us. Until next time. Bye for now.